Do I count as a incel if I am a hermit with no job or hobbies who spends all day at home? No. You're just a hermit. Considering how things are, I can understand why you're hesitant to socialize. An incel is something with a bit of entitlement to them, something you clearly don't have. I do think your sib's got the right idea. Going to a restaurant or bar for work, it'd be good for socialization. What's wrong with being a dishwasher? It's a real job. Good for getting the restaurant vibe, and they often will hire from within. Anyways, incels are a misogynistic cult. If you don't have misogynistic views, then you aren't an incel. You sound more like a NEET or hikikomori. Anyways, what do you do all day? Incel doesn't mean you don't get laid. It means you blame women for not being obligated to have sex with you. Incel is more about attitude than the legitimate dictionary definitions of involuntary and celibate. Ironically enough, you can be having sex and be an incel. It's mostly about how you treat and respect the opposite gender and how you approach topics like sex. Incels tend to think they are deserved sex from their partners or from women in general. Incel is a state of mind, my dude. Lots of single men looking for love doesn't mean they're weirdos who blame women and believe they are less than human. May I suggest the gym? Just go 45 minutes a day during the week. You'll be in shape and your confidence will heighten. Incels are a bunch of guys who blame everyone and everything aside from themselves as to why they can't get laid, form any sort of meaningful relationship with people of the opposite sex. They blame the women, other men, society, religion, lack of religion, etc. but cannot fathom it could possibly be they are at best a complete fucking chore to associate with, at worst violent, hateful pieces of shit. Are there people who are forever alone who aren't incels? Absolutely. Have I met people who did at some point or another have sex who I would consider an incel now because they're so far gone down the I'm a Winnie, sexist loser rabbit hole? Yes, that's my dad. Right now, why don't you focus on the employment so you can support yourself and hobbies so you can enjoy being alive even just a bit stuff? Both of these things are far more important than getting laid, and people are a lot more willing to consider dating someone they don't have to support financially and entertain. 247. No, you're not an incel. However, you could be considered a NEET, meaning not in education, employment or training. You are hikikomori or shut in. Honestly, it sounds like depression to me. What do you do all day if you have no job or hobbies? You are one in the purely technical sense, in that you are involuntarily celibate. However, the term has been changed to be more involved with misogynistic ideology shit, which is rightfully negatively viewed. For the purposes of not being viewed as a sexist whiner, don't call yourself an incel. Incel is a mentally. An incel is someone who hates women based on a complex set of beliefs called black pill, if I remember correctly. They are responsible for terrorist attacks where many women were killed. Unless you identify with this group, you are not an incel, agreeing with all of the other sentiments that you're not an incel because you don't have that misogynistic bit. Came here to ask, what do you do at home? If you're a gamer, there are plenty of board game stores that host game nights. That might be a good place to start with the socialization, and eventually dating. Incel typically refers to your attitude about it. The primary qualifier is complaining about your situation without making an effort to change it. On the other hand, if your content how you are, nobody can call you an incel. People should reserve the incel insult for people who turn their celibacy into a resentful political ideology which states they are entitled to women. To me, calling people who are just unhappy about being single incels is unfair. Being an incel is about being a misogynist and getting angry at the world in general and women in particular over one's own insecurities. Being a loner and/or a virgin is completely fine if you don't act like an asshole to people about it. An incel is a man who tries to get a romantic partner, a woman, but cannot. Incels tend to share the common traits: misogyny, deflection of blame and responsibility, blames women for not picking him instead of admitting his faults, overestimating themselves, I am such a nice guy though, and more, which are simply prejudiced against women. So no, you are not. Do you blame others for your current life experiences? Do you dislike other groups for simply existing in their own skin? If no, then I would say you are not an incel. No, incel is a specific toxic state of mind.